Hello. We are live. Let's get our banner up. Hello, everybody. It's time for day 2. Are we ready? All right. We got the self-care challenge live. I am going to make sure this is pinned to our Facebook group. Say hello if you're watching. Hello, hello. How are we? All right, let's pin this to the group so that everybody can find it. Do a little refreshy-roo. That's an internet industry term if you didn't know. Refreshy-roo. Can confirm, used to lead a team of web developers. Refreshy-roo. All right, we're pinning it to guides. Let's see. Or no, featured. Pinned to featured. There we go. Now it's featured. All right. So I have a raffle winner to announce. I'm going to wait till everybody filters in. Everybody is so prompt today. I love y'all. Thank you so much. Hello. Your comments are not showing with your name. I'm sorry. If you didn't already, try that link at the top of the video. It's streamyard.com/Facebook. That'll do it for you. I don't know who's who. I don't know who said it because it's difficult to go back and forth and look on Facebook. So, yes, thank you, Melissa. I appreciate you for posting that up. Facebook.com/StreamYard. Is that right? No, it's StreamYard.com/Facebook. Opposite. StreamYard.com/Facebook. If your comments are not showing, this is how to make your comments show. You go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and you give it permission. Hey, Patty Bell. Hey, Brittany. Hello, Samantha Marie. Hello, Melissa Marie. So many Maries in the house. Hello, Judith. Hello, Jolene. I know it's dinner time in France. What's for dinner, Jolene? Can we come over? Good morning, afternoon. I guess it's afternoon. I guess it's technically directly afternoon here on the East Coast. All right. I got folks tuned in. How we doing? Good to see everybody. Let's see. Member requests. I have a new member request to approve. Did anyone invite this person, Kristen Luft? They did not agree to the group rules, so I'm going to actually decline them and say agree to the group rules. Okay. Not positive on that. I'll have to check it. I'll let them watch the replay because I'm live. Confusion. I did get the new member request right at that last moment. If we can't, what if we couldn't watch the rest of the replay, do the homework yet? The video's not going anywhere. Don't worry. You still get credit. You're showing up. No one's mad. You're not going to get thrown out of the class. It's okay. Yes, I can see you. Oh, it's asked. You've given permission a couple times. Okay, sorry. There's enough people, like, I don't know if they're all you, but I believe you. I don't know. You know, like, technology is silly. All right. There we go. Publishing potential spam activity log. All right, we're going to get started in just a moment. I'm going to be pulling a card for everybody. Sorry, I'm doing some housekeeping. I want to let this person join if they're a real person. I never know for sure if someone is a real person or if someone is like a spammer. So I'm like just going to message this person and say, please agree to the group rules. But I think maybe I'll do that after the broadcast. All right. The word homework was really triggering though. Okay. Okay, everybody, let's take a vote. What can we say instead of homework? Because I don't mean for it to be like an assignment and you'll be in trouble if you don't do it. Pop it in the chat. What can we say instead of homework? Bonus exercises, this evening's thought process. Most of the homework too, when I say homework, like I'm looking at my schedule for the next few days, and the homework's all just like think about this thing and talk about it. So like it's not, there's no like, you don't have to write an essay. It's not a big deal. Side quest, mission, reflection. Ooh, I love reflection. We're gonna do, because it mostly is reflections. Reflection, practice. Oh no, you started this train. Now we have a new word. I love vocabulary. Okay. Bone is fun. Okay, I love it. Okay, I think I'm gonna go with reflection because I feel like that's really what it is reflection. Think work. I appreciate you all. Thank you for being silly with me. All right, it's 12:05. Let me get started. I'm sorry for being lost in like the Facebook labyrinth for a minute. I'm trying to be really good about making sure that as people enter the group and stuff, that I'm giving them access right away, and doing all the admin stuff so that I can be as accessible to all of you. But I think I probably should not try to do it while I'm live. I feel like that is probably not the best use of every single person's time watching this. So, it's pinned to the top of the group. Hopefully everyone who needed it can find it, and the replay will still be there for everyone who couldn't. All right. Yes, Witchy Wonderment. Oh my god. That's amazing. Witchy Wonderment. This just gets better and better. All right, I'm pulling my tarot cards out of my little tarot card holder doohickey. There is one holdout, and it's like, no, I don't want to be in there. You're going in. Okay, we're going to pull a card for everyone for today. But first of all, did everyone do the Witchy Wonderment last night? If you didn't, it's okay. You're not in trouble. But here's the question for you. You can answer this question right now. Were there elements that were easier for you to connect to, and were there elements that were harder for you to connect to in the guided elemental visualization? And if you didn't get to do it yet, I know, Brittany, I know you had to run out. And I know that there were people who like were still watching the replay this morning that were chatting with me about that. If you didn't get to do the visualization yet, no harm, no foul. Do it tonight. Do it whenever it's easy for you. I actually did put a link in the group to just download the visualization if you don't want to go search for it in the whole replay. It's like, I don't know, 10-15 minutes of time. So I did put a link in there that you can just download that as an MP3 if it's easier for you. And you can hang on to that, like that may be useful for you in the future. All right, I'm going to pull a card to guide us and center us today in our journey. And then I'm going to announce the raffle winner, and then we're going to get into the Witchy Self-Care Toolbox. I'm very excited about this. I'm shuffling. This is the Mystical Dream Tarot. Here is our card for today. Our card for today is Judgment. We are talking about our own judgment. This is not about being judgmental, but it's not. That's a word that has a very negative connotation. I don't like judgy people. I don't like judgmental people who like look at you and are like, oh, is that how you feel? Like that's a problem if I don't agree with it. We're not talking about that kind of judgmental. We are talking about our inner wisdom, our own discernment, our willingness to set and keep boundaries with ourselves and others. That is a focus. I know a couple people said that boundaries and people pleasing were like a thing they wanted to work on in this group. Today, we are dealing with judgment. Now, here's something that's interesting. The two figures on judgment do not look dissimilar from the two figures in yesterday's card, the lovers. So this is a reminder to us, we can practice judgment, discernment, and boundaries with everyone in our life. I think sometimes people hear boundaries and they're like, boundaries, it means that I keep toxic people out of my life. Yes, that's a piece of it, right? But it also means that people who are not necessarily toxic, but who aren't perfect, because literally 0 people in this world are perfect, everybody needs boundaries from time to time, right? We have to set boundaries with people we deeply love sometimes. And it's actually a gift to do that because it empowers them to love us and care for us the way that we need. And it empowers us to have room to grow in our relationship where we don't just have to be a slave to what everyone else wants. That's not healthy for everyone. So this is your reminder. You can set boundaries anytime. You can think about what your boundaries are. You can adjust your boundaries. The way to set a good boundary, I'm going to give us all a roadmap. I didn't mean to do this in today's training, but it's happening because I think it's necessary. The way to set a good boundary, it's 3 parts. First of all, you identify what you really need or what is not being met. Often that's the reason a boundary it needs to be set, because someone, whatever, can't respect your time, can't give you the space you need, can't give you the affection you need, can't give you the whatever you need, and you need to set a boundary about that. So 1 is identifying what you do need from the situation. 2 is communicating your expectation. I need you to treat me this way. And 3 is holding the boundary, not just with ourselves, but with the other person, bothy. So we don't set a boundary by saying, this is the boundary, this is how you need to treat me, and we're done. That is the second part of the boundary. That's communicating the expectation. Now, if we've had to set a boundary, there's a good chance that that boundary is that the person is not going to be able to keep the boundary with us, right? If we've had to set one to begin with, maybe they're doing their best and they're going to struggle with it, and that's human, right? Raise your hand if you've ever struggled with a boundary before. I certainly have, that someone set on me, or like the boundary of like, expectations from work or school or whatever. It's human and normal to struggle with boundaries. So part 3 of the boundary, which is loving to everybody involved, is to hold the boundary. You are a sentinel for yourself. So when we set a boundary with someone, when we say, for example, between the hours of 12 and 1, I will be broadcasting and doing the Witchy Self-Care Challenge, and I need not to be interrupted. The next part of that boundary is to hold the boundary. If someone tries to interrupt me at this time, which nobody will, because my husband is respectful and he's upstairs. But if someone tries to interrupt me at this time, my job is to hold that boundary and make it clear I'm not going to abandon you guys to go meet the interruption. If anything, I might do one of these to remind them, like, hey, this is not the time. But I've already made it clear I'm not available between the hours of 12 and 1. And so if someone comes over and tries to interrupt me, I'm not going to respond to their interruption. I won't make myself available to them. And that's holding the boundary. And guess what? Holding boundaries is super uncomfortable, right? That's a very that feels like a pretty cut and dry example. And yet, how many times have you told someone, I have something and I need to not be interrupted? Often it's someone in our family, right? I need to not be interrupted during this time. And then sure enough, they interrupt you. And you're like, I told you you can't interrupt me. And they're like, but I have a reason. A boundary is a boundary, right? Unless the house is on fire, a boundary is a boundary. And so by communicating, well, I set this boundary and you'll have to wait, that may make you both uncomfortable, but it also communicates boundaries matter in this relationship. My boundaries matter and your boundaries matter. I will respect both ways. So we have to uphold the boundaries with ourselves. Often that means making someone else uncomfortable. And the best gift we can give to them is to let them be uncomfortable. We don't serve anybody by attending to their comfort constantly. What happens then is they don't get an opportunity to grow. If we say, here's the boundary, and they're like, well, I couldn't follow the boundary because here's why. And we're like, okay, I understand. Well, then they never get to grow. And then they're going to go walk on boundaries with everyone, and everyone else might not be so nice, and appropriately so, right? When we say, here's the boundary, and they're like, but I can't follow the boundary, here's why. And we're like, okay, well, sorry, but you'll have to. Then they have to sit with that discomfort and learn what it's like to respect other people's boundaries. And that's healthy. That's an important part of growth. And that's important for the relationship. And it communicates to them not only, you can't just disrespect my boundaries. It communicates to them, I will respect your boundaries as well. We treat boundaries as important in this relationship. It creates stability and safety. So that is a focus for us today, is boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Who's got feelings about boundaries? Put them in the chat. I want to know. I put a huge boundary in place about 2 weeks ago and I am struggling. They are not trying to cross my boundary, but I am dying to go against it. Let's talk about that. How often I feel this as a people pleaser. We make a boundary and then we're like, I've done it. I've said, especially like in difficult conversations with people I care about, where I'm like, listen, I'm not going to be available to you until whatever, until you work on this, until you apologize for how you treated me, until you whatever. I'm not going to be available. I need to be treated with more respect. And it's not the same as the silent treatment, which is just like, kind of a shitty toxic behavior. It's saying, listen, here's what happened. We've discussed this. You went and did the thing you knew would really upset me anyway. And until I know that that's not going to happen again, I won't put myself in a situation to allow it to happen again. You don't get access to me when you disrespect my boundaries and needs. Um, and what happens is about an hour in, I'm like, oh no, they're going to hate me now. I'll never have access to them again. I'll be all alone forever. Maybe I was too harsh. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Right. And like all my inner fears come up. And you know what? Then you're doing the work of sitting with your discomfort and holding a boundary. That's healthy. It's good. That doesn't mean you can't ever be wrong, right? Sometimes we say something in the heat of the moment. Sometimes we're like, never talk to me again. That's not a boundary. That's like just us being angry and bustling, right? But we have a right to have our boundaries. And the more we've thought through our boundary and set it, the more we owe it to ourselves to sit with our discomfort and hold it. The guilt. Yeah, right. Which is wild. Because usually if we've set a boundary, it's because someone else wasn't respectful to us. There's one person who should feel guilty about that, and it's not us. It's not us for having to set the boundary. It's the other person who was so disrespectful that we had to say, hey, wait, get this. Just in, newsflash, this is not okay. Right? And yet we're the ones who feel guilty. It's hard to communicate with others about expectations as I'm communicating with myself. Requesting space seems offensive to some. Being preoccupied with others' feelings has been clouding me, and this is definitely something I've been working on as I progress. The challenge gets harder, moving into uncharted territory. Yeah, right. Especially if we're not used to setting boundaries, that means other people around us are not used to us setting them. If we're growing and we need new boundaries, that means the people in our lives have a new thing to adapt to, right? It's a growing pain. It's going to be hard. And all we can do is sit with it, right? Like, how many times have you been through a difficult situation in your life where you're like, wow, this is a new thing I have to adjust to? If your choices are throw this out the window or adjust to it, eventually you adjust, right? But it's hard. It's hard to do that growth. Yeah. Trying to find my way to myself, getting sidetracked, stopping to help things I can't help. That's another important kind of boundary, right? How much energy will I give you? Because the second part of that boundary is what really we're saying when we're saying I can only give you so much energy is we're beginning to say I deserve some energy for myself, and we shouldn't give ourselves that energy last. We should give it to ourselves first. And that's hard for most of us to do. We weren't programmed that way, especially if we were raised female or any kind of marginalized identity. We weren't programmed to put ourselves first. But when we put ourselves first, then we have a realistic understanding of I've put myself first, so I've taken care of myself. Now I have a clue how much energy I do have available, because we should be giving from overflow, not from deficit. And it's hard. It's hard to make that change. I have a lunch boundary in place for this right now, and 3 people are reaching out to you that they need me right now. I believe it. You know what? And upholding that boundary will teach them to be more resourceful themselves. Like, oh, I can't reach you during lunch means I really can't reach you during lunch. Oh my God. Well, now they'll have to come up with another option, and maybe this will help them grow. Having trouble with boundaries both ways, tired of having learning experiences. Yeah, I hear you. Like, I am a human who has had trouble with both kinds of boundaries. I've had trouble with space boundaries. I've had trouble with, like, I need time to process, especially when it's open-ended. And it's like, okay, but I feel frightened that your processing means you don't like me. Like, I'm able to recognize that's a lot of that's about me, right? Like, I've definitely had that experience in, like, you know, fights with friends and family where it's like, but do you still like me? Okay, but you can process, but do you still like me? And that's hard. Like, that's like that interruption is not allowing them to process. It actually prolongs it, right? Um, and it's reasonable to set like to temper it and say, like, okay, this is troubling to me, so when you need time, can you give me the amount of time, right? Can you say, like, we can talk about this in 2 days or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that's a way that we can both have boundaries. We can renegotiate boundaries, but we can't harangue people about their boundaries, and vice versa, right? Like, we deserve to have our boundaries without being harangued. Yeah, I really understand, It's hard in both directions. And yes, like another fucking growth opportunity. That's the expression I like to use. Another fucking growth opportunity. Thank you. Thank you, universe. Pretty good about boundaries with people, except with my chronically ill daughter. It's so hard and so different, right? I understand. It's hard because you feel like, well, I'm in the position of power here, so it's difficult to use that discernment of like where is the line, where should the line be? Because you still do deserve to have boundaries, but of course you recognize like your own situation and like some extent of privilege in that. I get it. As soon as you said, think of a time you struggle with boundaries even set by someone else, I realized how few times anyone has directly conveyed a boundary in my life as opposed to being passive aggressive. And now I see how healthy this is amazing. Everybody take notes. Now I see you don't have to really take notes. I just mean like pay attention. Now I see how healthy and helpful it is not just to set boundaries, but for those you set them for, it allows them to grow and know what you want and need rather than having to guess and being a source of resentment. Right. How many of us had that experience like growing up? How many of us had the experience of like chores or something like that? And we had like certain chores we were supposed to do, and then a parent would get mad at us because we didn't do something that wasn't on the list, right? Well, you should just know if the kitchen is dirty, you should clean it up. Like, maybe yes, but also we're growing children, and if we're not taught, then we don't know. So I remember having those conversations, which is probably a very innocuous common household conversation. Well, you should know if something is dirty, clean it up. Has anyone else ever heard that? I know I heard that growing up. And part of course developing that as a child is knowing like what's dirty, what's clean, what's our level of cleanliness in this family, because everyone has different ones, I've learned over time. um and had the boundary been communicated, like if the first thing is not I'm upset at you, you didn't clean up that mess, but if the first thing is if you see something that's messy, we pick up, we try to leave a room nicer than we left it, if that's a communicated expectation, then I'm not met later with like resentment and confused about the resentment, then I've had an opportunity, right? And I've passed or failed or whatever, but I know what's expected of me. And that's healthy. That lets us grow. And then if we don't understand it when it's communicated to us, we can ask for clarification, right? If the boundary is, I need space, I have a right to say, in order for me to hold this boundary, I need to know when I can reach out to you again. I need to know if space means I can't even talk to you in an emergency, or if space means only in an emergency, right? Like we're allowed to ask for clarification so that we can better hold the boundary. And when people just come with resentment because we failed and we didn't even know there was a quiz, that can be painful. So yeah, setting boundaries is a gift to both parties. I love it. Ooh, I set a strong boundary. I was surprised that it was respected. I love that. That's amazing. I have a weird boundary with my small children when they must leave me alone to enjoy a meal without interruptions. I appreciate that. Right, like you deserve your time. They don't understand the purpose behind it, and sometimes I feel guilty to behave like a vicious eating dog, but they actually learn to state when they want to be left alone, so it's kind of great. I love that. Right, you have modeled for them that it's okay to need space in this family. I think that's beautiful. My favorite word is to defenestrate. Love that word. Throwing out the window, but I've thrown a lot of self-care out the window over the years. I hear that. Not saying this is what you're going through necessarily, but I found that sometimes when I consciously put others first, it's actually in part because I'm avoiding dealing with my own stuff. Sure. Right. If I'm so busy caring for everyone, well, I guess I can't do this trauma work. I guess I can't do the work on this business I'm trying to build. I guess I can't invest my time and energy in caring for my body. I couldn't do it. Someone else had an emergency. Yeah, I understand. I hear that. So challenging with children. Yeah, it is challenging with children. My heart goes out to you as a parent. I'm not a parent. I'm just a cat parent. I just accept that my cat will never listen to me. um, but yeah, it is challenging because you have this role where it's important and correct for you to set boundaries because that helps them grow. But the awareness that you're not talking to another adult who's going to understand everything, like you have to teach them along the way. So yeah, it is. The hardest part of setting boundaries, this is totally unplanned and I think it's so necessary. I'm so glad we're having this boundary discussion. And we're going to talk too about like some witchy boundary setting as well. But right now I'm just like in for this. The hardest part of setting boundaries for me is unprogramming the belief I don't have it as bad as feeling that yes, it's a worthiness issue. As though privilege is required to have boundaries, right? Like or lack of privilege, like as though Like, the how bad do I have at Olympics? Like we all deserve to have boundaries. It doesn't serve anyone, even someone who has it worse than us, to not have boundaries. That doesn't help them. But yes, I really understand. It's a worthiness issue and a helper issue. I'm growing in this. I'm glad that you're speaking out about it because that's half the battle. So much better to just be direct with people. Yeah, it's helpful. Oh, I like that. My partner thanks me when I am direct and clear, and even when I put boundaries into place. That's lovely. It makes it easier that they thank me for not making them guess. Yeah, that's a wonderful practice. And it sucks to fail even knowing you were not being graded or tested. Yeah, absolutely. Making sure I communicate with my young niece and nephews. I never talk down. They understand so well. I learned to contrast that based on what I experienced growing up, expecting to read people's minds instead of having conversations with open understanding. I like that. And I wonder if sometimes it might be healthy for us to be like, what if I were talking to a child? And I don't mean this in a condescending way, but in our friendships and our relationships, people have very different levels of emotional intelligence. People were raised very differently, right? If you were raised with an expectation that you have to read somebody's mind and do what they want, first of all, that's a lot of burden on your shoulders. But somebody else may have been raised with the opposite expectation. Somebody else may have been raised with the expectation, assume everything's okay unless I tell you. But also drop what I'm doing when I tell you I need something, right? Like two different sides of toxicity, because it's like then you can't ever be truly feeling like you're safe to have time to yourself as a kid, right? But two people come into a relationship with each other, romantic or friendship or whatever, or work, and they've been raised with these vastly different expectations of like what's the appropriate way to act. Sometimes it might be healthy for us to feel like, well, what if I was explaining this to a child? Because in some ways the person is childlike in that they've never experienced life your way, right? That's a new experience for them. So it's helpful to be like, well, here's what I need from you. Boundaries are a huge form of self-care. It's definitely on brand. A lot of validation around the subject will encourage people to implement more of them. Yeah, like that's a journey to me. Like I have been learning how to set boundaries and I just want to tell you I'm shitty at it. And I've been working hard on it for, several years. And I'm still like literally I have some friends that are like my boundary support group and I'm like, "Here's what I did today. Is it okay?" So that they can be like, yeah, you're allowed to have a boundary, Rory, like, and cheer me on. So, yeah. And by the way, I'm happy to be everybody's boundary support group in this group. Well, we have this group. Let's all be each other's boundary support group. If we need to set a boundary, like, we can talk about it and show up for each other and be like, yes, good job. You're allowed to have boundaries. I love that you gave yourself a gold star for every time you'd set one or did something that made yourself. Can we get a literal sticker chart though? Melissa, you're a designer. If you have that sticker chart, can you share it with us? Because I'm not gonna make you do it. I that's like a gift that you would be giving to this community, but we'd be very grateful. Um, Struggling to make my children go to sleep ahead of us. It's just me and we share a bed. I feel guilty telling them they need to be alone even if they're scared. Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough like age thing, like that coming of age to now we're sleep, like now I'm sleeping alone and I'm expected to self-regulate. Um, I feel guilty making sure they go to bed in early enough time. Right. Yes, both things, right? Like damned if I do, damned if I don't. So I end up splitting the difference and I go to bed earlier than they want and they go to bed later and no one's needs are fully getting met. Yeah. I mean, I that's hard. I'm just going to say that's tough. You're over here grappling with this boundary in real time and I don't think there's a right real answer. You're just doing your best with it. Well, I think that's um I sound condescending when I try to explain. Sometimes that's like I know I sound condescending sometimes. I can sound like a know-it-all. I'm a Virgo. We're know-it-alls. I can't help it. Um, you know, I think we have to like have boundaries around our communication and it gets right like it's like okay, well, what if you do sound condescending, right? Here's a question. What if someone does think you're condescending? What if we say something in a way that makes them feel like we're being an asshole to them? Well, you know what? At some point, we have to be able to be imperfect and we have to be able to set the boundary. And we have to be allowed to say the words like, this is not me attempting to condescend to you, but I need you to understand XYZ, right? And allow for that to be enough. And um, I think there's a point at which that back and forth becomes unproductive for everybody and it just devolves. It's tough though. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you, like, it's just hard, you know? Sitting here listening, getting ready to leave for my gig at once. I just want everyone to know I'm paying attention. We love you. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in before your gig. All right, I'm going to take a sip of tea. It's tea time. Then I'm going to announce the raffle winner, and then we're going to dive into the Witchy self-care toolbox. Okay. First of all, raffle winner is Angie. Angie is the raffle winner. Angie will be getting a guide card, a 2024 guide card reading. By the way, that's going to be delivered next week, because this week I'm just focusing on this. But next week you will get a 2024 guide card from me. There is another raffle that will be tomorrow, and if you've participated in today's live, you're eligible to be entered in the raffle. It's the same thing. It's for a 2024 guide card. And there will be, by the way, at the end of this, on Saturday, I will announce the winner. If you have participated in all 3 lives, either by replay or, you know, tuned in live, it's okay if you're watching the replay. That's good enough. As long as you comment on the post, I know you're involved and you're in the raffle. If you've participated in all 3, I'm going to be doing a full self-love reading and giving that away to one person who has been here for the whole thing. So that's just like my gift to you for showing up and being such an important part of this group. So that raffle will be on Saturday, but tomorrow I will be picking one more person to get a free guide card reading. Why? Because I love you. Thank you for being a part of this. Oh, look at that. Look at all the good vibes in the chat. Y'all are lovely. I love this group. All right. We're gonna go into a witchy self-care toolbox. It is now 12:31, so I don't want you to like have to navigate away from the live, but I will let you know I had a schedule post at 12:30 to go live with this as a downloadable PDF. So you can download this and you'll be able to look at it. So don't feel stressed. Don't feel like you have to take notes. Just know that we're like enjoying this moment together as I share with you the Witchy self-care toolbox. Okay, you got the first 5 tools yesterday. They are the elements, right? We talked through that. I'm going to just briefly read through the elements for you again to give you some context. We all did this elemental meditation together. You got your introduction to what the different elements feel like, and hopefully a taste of how you can work with them. And at any given moment during the day, this is a piece of like, these are 5 tools you have at your disposal energetically to help you with your energy. You can tune into the element that feels right for you, or all of them if you just feel like, I just need to throw everything in the kitchen sink at this. And they can help you. Earth is an element of stability and resource, time, money, energy. Earth is a great element to work with for boundaries. Tune into the earth and ask it to ground you if you're dealing with worry, anxiety, instability. You can tune into earth the way we did in our meditation yesterday by planting your feet on the ground, focusing that energy coming up from the ground into your body and stabilizing you like through the roots of a tree. You can visualize yourself rooting down into this energy to connect you with your own core stability and strength. This is so helpful for setting boundaries, right? Like you can literally envision the boundary around yourself. You can set the boundary and envision that you have like planted a hedgerow around yourself. Here's the boundary, none shall pass. Air is the element of communication, information, and awareness. We can tune into the air and we can ask it to keep us aware. This is also good if we're overthinkers. If we're like, oh, but what if, what if, what if, what if? We can say, air, can you let me know what I need to know, so that I'm tuned in when I need to be and can relax otherwise. I do this from everything from like if I'm walking to my car to help myself be a little more alert, like if it's dark at night and I'm like, oh, I want to keep my head about me, right? Like I'm a New Yorker, I don't want anything to happen. I'm like, air, let me know if anything's going on. Like make it so that I notice the guy across from the parking lot looking creepy and take a different route. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. You can also ask air to act as a filter for you. When you're feeling overwhelmed and stuck in your head, you can ask it like, please take away the extraneous thoughts. Please take away the extraneous ideas so I can just have clarity. And we can tune into air by literally just breathing. We breathe in and air is in our body. And then when we exhale, it leaves. We're communing constantly with air. We're in a constant cycle with it. Fire. is the element of passion, energy, personal power. We talked a little bit yesterday about, because I've personally experienced this a lot. When I'm burnt out, I have a difficult time accessing fire. I've had a fire journey the last couple of years. It's also the element of anger. And if you're moving through anger, you may wish to commune with fire around that, because what you'll find, what I've found anyway, is anger wants an answer. Anger's not for no reason. Anger's not just a useless emotion. Anger tells us that we have a need that's not met. And we can ask our anger, and we can ask fire to like embody our anger for us so we can understand this. We can ask our anger, what do we need? What's not, like, what's the answer? What will help? And the anger will usually have a pretty friggin' snappy answer for you, like, well, this, and we can't always we can't control it if we're angry at more than just, ourselves. We can't control it. If we're angry at the patriarchy, I'm angry at the patriarchy every day, you know um but we can say, well, okay, well, what's the answer? What can we do to make this 1% better today, right? And we can show this part of ourselves that is angry, that we're making an effort, that we care about this need. And that's how we heal our relationship with self, by honoring our anger rather than pushing it down. Fire is a great way to connect with your anger. We can also ask fire to burn away something we'd like to release, like a negative thinking pattern, like, burn this away. I don't need it anymore. I don't want to have access to it. We can tune into fire by visualizing a bright burning campfire in front of you. We can also imagine lighting our own candle from this fire. If we are feeling burnt out, we can visualize this fire, and we can visualize going to it, lighting a candle, and allowing the candle to be a part of our energy flow, giving us this energy that we need. That's not something we should abuse. That's something we should do when we're burnt out and we want to rekindle our inner fire, but not so that we can burn ourselves out more. You know what I'm saying? So much fire in me. Anger has been buried and denied my whole life. Like, you're preaching to the choir. Same. I've definitely been going through a journey with my anger as I uncover it. Anger wants an answer. I think that's helpful. I think when we're feeling angry, I can feel, because I didn't learn to deal with anger as a child, I also repressed it. I didn't feel I had a safe space to be angry. And I can feel that anger, therefore, is scary, because I don't know, I didn't learn how to manage it. And a lot of the advice that's out there for managing anger feels like I'm just putting it away, I'm repressing it. And so me having the thing like anger wants an answer, the way I can work with my anger is to say, well, okay, what is the answer that you want? I can work a little bit on this, like I can hold some space for it. The last two elements, we have water. Water is the element of emotions, of healing. Love water. We can ask water to wash away whatever is causing us suffering. We can tune into its sense of flow if we're feeling stuck. We can remind ourselves we're never stuck. We can ask water, flow through us, unstuck the stuff, you know? Our emotions are actually constantly in flow if we allow them to be. We get stuck when we can't see the answer. We can ask water to help us get unstuck. We can also visualize a soothing, gentle rain flowing over us and cleaning our energy, especially if we've been in a shitty conversation with someone and we're like, ugh, we can visualize water cleansing us of that conversation. We can allow that conversation to wash away instead of letting it be something that resides rent-free in our head for the rest of the day. Yes, sometimes anger explodes if you've been pushing it down too long and becomes so wilder. And I want to draw a connection to something someone said earlier, which is resentment and passive aggression. Where do we think those emotions come from? If we feel, and again, this is something many of us here have been socialized female, at least for a part of our lives, if we feel that it's not safe for us to be angry, which many women don't, and female presenting people don't, we've gotten the message that it's not okay for us to be angry, that angry is a problem. If we feel it's not okay for us to be angry, then our only outlet for that anger is in things like resentment, right? If we feel like setting a boundary makes us an angry person, then all we can do is be passive aggressive after. That doesn't help anybody, right? But it's not our fault, We've been raised to be accommodating. But yes, if we push and push and push it down, then eventually we're going to snap. Has anyone else experienced that? Like, usually I repress my anger and then I snap. I certainly have. And I only realized in my 30s that that was the experience I was having because I was so afraid of my anger. I was taught that anger emotions are bad, must be expressed a different way. Now I'm trying to hold it and figure out how to manage it. Fire element, cool idea. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I actually have come to think of anger a little like grief. Like, it's going to come up, and sometimes you just have to make some room for it. That doesn't mean you have to do exactly what it says, you know? Like, our emotions are a messenger. They're not the king. We're the king. The messengers come to the king. We are the king. And they're like, here's what I think you should do. And some messengers, just like some people, if anyone has ever managed people at work or has children, sometimes the messengers are like, you gotta do this right now. And as the king, our job is to keep our cool and not be led around by an angry messenger, but to be like, all right, calm down. Why don't you tell me what's going on? You know? And bring it to a place of conversation. Fire is resonating hard with everyone here. You're just gonna have a bunch of fire starters leaving this live stream. Yes, yes, I love it. Which, by the way, if you're new to this group, and this group is disappearing after Saturday. Our finale is going to be Saturday. The group's not going to be here after the weekend. If you want a place to go for this kind of like connection and compassion, I have a fire starters group, and you're invited to it. I will put a link somewhere sometime. I love it. Have to jump off for client meetings. We'll have a great time. Catch a rest on replay. Yes, been practicing using those I feel statements so others can understand it might not be rational, but it's still a valid feeling. Yeah. Yeah, and we can I would invite you to even take that a step further and say, I feel this and here's what I need from you. You know, we can't it's okay that like everyone can't always give us exactly what we want and need, but it's also okay to say what we need and say what we want. That's not the same thing as like do this or else, right? Here's what I need in this moment. If we don't say it, then people don't get an opportunity to give it to us. Loving the conversation around anger. Grew up in a family there's either explosive, mean, or bottled. Yes, right. That's the cycle. I still struggle to express my anger without cruelty, and the more I bottle it, the worse it gets. Looking forward to working with fire. Yeah, I think we have to make space for our anger, as we do for other emotions. You know. I've been a grandma holding a suppressed child's hand. She's trying to grow into a fiery teen. I'm here for it. I also want to just say to you, I think a lot of us have this idea, but we don't have to be perfect. I remember very vividly a conversation with my therapist where it's like, I don't want my anger to make me an asshole. Basically, like I'm going through this anger journey and I don't want it to make me an asshole. And she was like, well, what if you act like an asshole occasionally? Have you ever met anyone who doesn't? Do you still like them? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, so what if you just let yourself be an asshole sometimes? You know, like it's allowed. We're not perfect. And that was like kind of transformative for me. All right. The last element is spirit. A lot of people had trouble with spirit. I think of spirit as the manifestation element, if that's a word that agrees with you. If it doesn't, I also think of it as the connection element. I think about the fact that we're all connected by atoms and air, and that's invisible, but we're all sharing it. Example, if someone is smoking across the room, I know it. I don't, like I can't not know it. We're connected. I can't see the smoke, but I can smell it. Now that's a real physical manifestation, but I think of spirit in that way as like our energy around us precedes us and knocks into other people's energy. And I think of spirit as the kind of like all of it, the energy that we all share that gets knocked around, that goes on different missions. Spirit loves a mission. We can ask it to do things for us. When we ask someone to do something, this is important. I learned this from a teacher. It's not my message, but it's an important message. When we ask someone to do something for us, we are not being annoying. We are actually giving them an opportunity to play a new and exciting role in their own lives. How many times has someone asked you for something and you've actually felt flattered? I'm not talking about like people who like are energy vampires, but like, has someone ever said, could you give me help with your resume? And you're like, oh, wow, they think I'd be good at that. And that actually feels good. You know what I mean? When we ask someone for something, we're giving them an opportunity to play a new role. Spirit loves to play roles. When you ask spirit for something, you're giving it an opportunity. You're giving all of that energy that is around us an opportunity to go do it for you. Bring me more of this. Keep this the fuck away from me. That's what energy is about. It's like, okay, like it gets a mission. Similarly, our subconscious mind is the same. Our brain looks for solutions. That's why we have so many annoying conversations with people where we're like, this is really bothering me. And they're like, have you just tried yoga? And it's like we didn't want a solution. We just wanted to share our experience and feel like we were understood, but our brains are problem solvers. Give them a mission. When we say, Spirit, bring this energy to me, we are also talking to our subconscious. And we're saying, subconscious, notice this energy so we can use it. It's bothy, bothy. It's wonderful. I hold way too much resentment, need to work on that and how to channel or work with that. Open to ideas. I'm going to say, if you're holding resentment, um, that feels to me like resentment is usually anger that doesn't feel allowed to be anger, you know? So I'm going to ask you to ask your resentment the question, what need is not getting met? And I'm going to let you know if you've been holding a lot of resentment for a long time, you might get a long angry list. So it might be like a good time for like a journaling practice or like a voice memo or something to like make you notice that. Resentment is usually what need is not getting met. We can't control if everyone else meets our needs, but we can control if a need is not getting met that we try to work on it getting met. Example, if someone we care about is not giving us validation, if they're being a wet blanket, if they're treating us like our feelings don't matter, we can't control how they treat us, but we can treat our feelings like they matter. We can take ourselves in hand and say, this is valid, you matter, right? Um, so I would say ask your resentment what needs are not getting met, be prepared for a list. It might not be a polite one, and then try to meet those needs, like one step at a time. And that's how we heal our relationship with ourselves. All right, I'm going to go through real quick and you can read this in there's a PDF, but I'm going to go through just a few more tools I'm giving you for witchy self-care. I don't want this to run super long. I don't want this to be like a too long part of your day because I know we all have other shit in our lives. Tool number 6 is the protective bubble. We're talking about boundaries. This is a psychic way to set a boundary. And anytime I talk about psychic stuff, energy, witchcraft, I want you to know that I look at this as going both ways. Even if you believe none of this at all, if you don't believe in anything witchy, you don't have to, first of all. I look at belief as a tool. But when we do these practices, we're not just communicating with whatever we believe in, we're communicating with our subconscious. Our subconscious responds to ritual, our subconscious believes. And when we tell our subconscious this is what we're doing, that's very powerful because our subconscious drives the boat on a lot of our choices. So, to create a protective bubble around yourself, maybe some of you have done this because this is like protective magic 101. We are going to find a place where we can be still and strong. It's great if your feet can be planted, tune into that earth energy so that you are grounded and you feel very stable. And we're going to create a psychic shield around ourselves by simply visualizing it as a bubble blowing out from the center of our body. We can do this with our breath, as though we're blowing up a balloon. We visualize expanding outward from our body with each breath, a bubble of energy. Just and as we continue to breathe, the outer edge of it hardens and becomes impenetrable. It is invisible, but it is there. Like that really expensive friggin' glass that cannot be broken. And positive energy can get through just like light can get through, but anything negative just bounces right off and cannot get in. That is the properties of this bubble. And we are telling ourselves this, so it is so. And we're creating this energetic boundary. And we're also telling our subconscious, this is the energy we're allowing in. This is the energy we're paying attention to. So this is a psychological exercise as well as a witchy exercise. This is a great exercise to do before walking into a crowded room, before you're dealing with someone who has been like an energy vampire to you, or if you're just like, let me feel protected today. I'm feeling a little fragile, so let me put that protection on. Resentment burns, big fire energy. I feel like people pass their anger onto me like a burning coal and I insist I hold it out. I mean, I'm just gonna like refer you back to childhood, like hot potato. Like do not accept, like I'm just volleying it back to you. I think that's a very healthy skill for us to be like, no, thank you. You can hang on to that or do what you will with it. Um, I mean, I love it. I'm here for it. I love pop culture witchcraft. I'm so here for it. Love using the bubble exercise when you wake up in the morning and know I have a difficult day. Yeah, absolutely. All right, tool number 7 is meditation. We talked a little bit about meditation yesterday, and I just want to share, like, I know there are some people who really are not into meditation here, and I want to tell you I support you in that. It is not your job to like to meditate. But I will also say that you can get the benefits of meditation through different forms. Meditation is just about where you hold your focus. It's about having a more gentle focus and also about allowing your focus not to be on rumination, right? And we can get the benefits of meditation, which have been studied like ad nauseum. Everyone knows now, like, meditation is good for you. We can get the benefits without having to like sit still and like, friggin' focus on our breathing if that doesn't speak to us. We can have a moving meditation. We can walk or we can move our body by dancing or running or doing exercise and just focus on feeling our body. We can experience nature as meditation. We can go out to the woods or a beach or a park and just like watch the world around us and allow ourselves to observe the world instead of observing the conversation we had 3 hours ago with an asshole. We can do a guided visualization like we did yesterday. You're not being graded on meditation. It doesn't count more if you do it yourself. Like, you can Google guided meditation, guided visualization, and come up with like a billion free options. And you could do that every day for the rest of your life. And then you're a daily meditator. And that's like a blissful self-care experience. It's the spa day of meditations. I'm here to validate it. I got 2 more tools for you. Here are the 2 remaining tools we got. Listening. Let's talk about listening. How does your spiritual practice go back and forth? I don't know if you believe what you believe in. I imagine there are a variety of different beliefs here. I myself hold a variety of different beliefs at different times. But is your spiritual practice a one-way or two-way path? That's my question for you. I developed a listening practice over the last few years when I realized that much of my spiritual practice was one way. It was me talking to the moon. It was me asking the universe for help. It was that kind of thing. It was me casting a spell, putting my intention out. And I was like, if all I did was talk at someone, I'd be a shitty friend. It's time to listen. And that transformed my practice. Listening can benefit everyone. One-way relationships suck. So what can you listen to? You can listen to any deity or guide or spirit that you work with, if that's something that's your jam. You can listen to your higher self. You can listen to your inner child or any part of you that needs attention. You can listen to your anger or your resentment. You can listen to the energy of the moment by just tuning into spirit and being like, I'm listening. What's up? You know? And we can practice this through like deliberately through divination, or we can just cultivate this listening. We can focus on the ability to say, for this moment, I'm not putting out, I'm listening. And we can perhaps do 10 deep breaths and say, for the next 10 deep breaths, I'm just going to listen and focus on what comes up in my mind. Or I'm going to take a walk and see if anything jumps out at me, and I'm going to make note of that and see if it has any relevance to my life. These are ways we can cultivate a listening practice. And I have to tell you, listening walks are something I'm doing every day now. It's a form of recovery for me, to be quite honest with you. And it has changed my life dramatically. We can also do inner listening. We can say, inner child, I'm listening to you. What do you have to say? And it might take some prompting. Like with most children, if you've ever been in a conversation with a child under the age of 10 and you're like, tell me about your day. And they're like, it might take a little nudging. It's worth it, you know? Love this. Jumping and prepping for a call. Thank you for being with us, Samantha. I know this has been like I intended for these to be like an hour long, and I know they're probably going to run longer because that's who I am as a person. But thank you. You'll, jump back into the replay when you can. It's all good. Tool number 9 is kitchen witchery. Food and beverages. I didn't ask our 3 questions. Everybody, what you sipping on today? Cheers. I'm sipping green tea. We eat and drink every day. It's non-negotiable. We can make it witchy, and we can make it about self-care. When we eat, what if instead of asking ourselves, what do I feel like having, or what's in the kitchen, those leftovers better get eaten, like, what if instead of that, what if we said, what do I need most right now? What would feed my soul? What would nourish my inner self? And allowed for our food and beverage to be about that a little bit. What if we need an emotional break, can we literally visualize ourselves stirring that emotional healing into our cup of tea as we prepare it in the morning, or into our cup of coffee? If we need nourishment because we're feeling fragile, can we literally prepare something that we associate with strength and allow that to be something that we're literally eating, not just physical nourishment, but strength? You can look up too, like associations of common food, common spices. Um, there's a lot of cool witchy subject matter on this. And in the PDF I'm giving you, there is a link that actually lists to a good list of magical properties of different food. For example, flowers are heart healers. Did you know that? So when you drink a jasmine green tea, jasmine is a flower, you've got some heart healing energy. I love to splash rose water in my coffee because I'm a weirdo, but also because rose water is a heart healer. And for a lot of days, I feel like my heart could use a little love today. And maybe this is the only love it's getting. Here goes the rose water, right? If you are having trouble connecting with your inner fire, you might want to add some hot pepper or some cinnamon into what you're eating and have a visceral experience of fire. This is a way we can do this. Dark chocolate is a friend with positive emotional chemicals. I misread that as positive emotional channels, and I'm like, wow, we're like the spirit of dark chocolate like opens up our emotional channels. I love this. And I'm sticking with the misread interpretation. I like it. But yes, it does have positive emotional. I wish I did not eat 44 pieces of Halloween candy during the live. It did not nourish my soul. I wish I had a few of those though. I would. What kind of candy? I kind of want to know. Water and lime sparkling water, love it. My coffee is gone. I hate when like you're drinking coffee and then it just disappears, like so rude. If I can't get out or I feel rushed, I will sometimes just stand outside and close my eyes to listen, and that's enough to reset my whole system. Yes, like allowing the energy of outdoors to come into you. I love it. Drinking wine. Yes. What kind of wine? I just want to know. um, that's right. It's evening in France. I love it. I have some blessed rose water in the fridge I haven't touched. Maybe that is a special self-care healing experience for you. You still have candy left over. What willpower, that is witchcraft. Big mood. All chocolate. Okay, yes. I mean, I'm I'm experiencing the energy of that chocolate you ate, and I would like some, so no judgment here. Got to get back to work. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. For those of you who are tuning in on lunch breaks and making time, thank you for making space in your day for this. Thank you for showing up for yourself in this way by saying this is important enough to make this room. It means so much to me. Red wine. Oh, red wine. Yes. Yes. I love a good, like, I love a Beaujolais. Awesome. You have the Andes mints from Olive Garden in my fridge. I love Andes mints. Okay. That is our, like, that was what I had for you today. I want to tell you this PDF is going to be available for you. Like, as soon as we're done with this live, you'll see it in the Facebook group. I will pin it as a featured thing so you can download it so that you can just have this. Like, this is a gift to you going forward when you're like, fuck, what do I need? I don't feel good. Look at the PDF and pick a thing. That's the idea. It is a toolbox. When you are having a shitty time and you need some self-care and don't know how, and the shitty recommendations of other people aren't cutting it, go to your witchy toolbox. There is probably something for you in there. What is our witchy wonderment, our reflection for today? My question for you is, are you struggling with something in your life that could use some releasing? Because tomorrow we're going to do some releasing work. I'm going to tell you two things about releasing work. It is emotional and it is powerful. I have dramatically changed my life through releasing work. And I personally believe a lot of it is psychological. The results I've seen is me. I have changed me, and I'm grateful for it by speaking directly to my subconscious with releasing rituals. And I will let you know, it's not like, it is not the soothing bubble bath chocolate self-care. It is the, oh, I had an experience kind of self-care in a very good way. But I will let you know that tomorrow we're doing some releasing work. If you feel that emotionally this may not be for you, I will not judge you if during that part of the call you're like, okay, bye, thank you. You know, first we will have our check-in, we'll have our raffle giveaway, we'll talk about our witchy wonderment a little bit, and then when it gets to be the releasing ritual, if you decide this is for me, but later, or this is not for me, it's okay. I won't judge you. Releasing work is not for the faint of heart. But that's what we're doing. We're releasing. You could scream if you want to. It's your party and you scream if you want to. You can totally scream if you want to. Oh, clearly should have built some time to cry tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, we'll listen. I say this because I consider it like a content warning. I don't want people to go into this and be like, man, I thought this was self-care and now I'm a mess. Oh, what did you do, Rory? I want you to feel empowered, and I will take you back and we will have some nurturing time after we do the releasing work tomorrow so that we feel like whole people again. Aftercare. We do aftercare after releasing work, and we always should. But I'm letting you know, like releasing work is no joke. It can be pretty serious. Um, so that's happening tomorrow. There will also be another raffle winner tomorrow. If you participate in this chat, if you're watching the replay, type replay in the chat so I know you're watching. And you'll still be eligible. So I will pick the winner around 10 or 11 a.m. tomorrow, and I will let you know during the stream tomorrow. So in the next 23 hours, that's the time you have to participate in this live. And it will be another guide card, another 2024 guide card you will receive from me. So I love those. My guide card this year was the Four of Swords. Tarot was like, rest is the answer. Rest, rest, rest. And you know what? It's been right all year. So it can be incredibly powerful. I have screamed in the shower. I think I scared the landlord. I scared myself. Yeah, you know what? I gotta tell you, like I've done some of the wonkiest emotional reactions I've had have been during release work where I'm like, wow, if someone was seeing me right now, I would look like a lunatic. Yes. So let's get ready to be crazy tomorrow. Good crazy, fun crazy. Releasey crazy. Saturday, we are going to be doing a celebration, and I'm going to be giving you all an invitation to work in the 6-week self-care intensive with me. That's going to be running from December to January. Unlike this free challenge, it's going to be a big, big, intense experience. I hope this has been an intense experience in a positive way. What we're going to be doing for those 6 weeks is we're going to literally nurture our relationship with ourselves from the ground up. If befriending yourself, befriending your anger, befriending your feelings is challenging for you, as it is challenging for me, we are going to form that friendship in an untake-backable way, because once you do this with yourself, you can't. I don't know if you've ever experienced that with other people. Once you get in so deep with a relationship with someone, there's no going back. Now you care. You can't uncare. You know what I mean? Even if they do something that pisses you off, you can't uncare. And of course, if the person is toxic, that can go bad. But if the person is someone that you're committed to, then that's an experience to have a deeper, beautiful relationship. We are forming a relationship with ourselves in an untake-backable way in the 6-week intensive. We are befriending ourselves and learning tools that will serve us forever. But the most important thing is, like, we're literally going to be reprogramming ourselves a little bit about this. We are reprogramming ourselves to value ourselves and be friends to ourselves in ways that we didn't learn when we were younger. We're doing the reparenting work together, and it's going to be a very safe space like this is. It's going to be Zoom calls as well, so that there can be more participation. So I'm just letting you know. I'll let you know more about that on Saturday, but I'm excited about that. The 6-week thing is going to be friggin' wonderful. I'd love to have you for the journey with me. That's the story. That's what's going on. I'm going to let you all go. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. And remember, our witchy wonderment for the day is there something that you are struggling with that you might benefit from releasing? That's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. Okay? Okay. You're all wonderful. Mwah. Bye, friends.